time to talk about everything I read last month, and I'm real excited because there were some game changers here, like top books of all time. Audiobooks were pretty meh, and physical books were all-time high, like consistently all really good. And I'm gonna keep three of the 5 physical books, and I don't keep books very easily, so that's actually really out of the ordinary for me. All right, so I'm gonna alternate between audiobooks and physical books. There's a lot more audio than physical because that was just kind of what was easiest for my life this last month. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney is one that I kind of started last month and finished in this month. I kind of have already forgotten about this book. It wasn't bad, like I actually enjoyed it. And I really liked the twist. I kind of already have forgotten that I read it. It was definitely interesting. We are following Adam and Robin, a married couple who are not happy anymore at all. And it's kind of their last-ditch effort to take a trip to a cabin together. Well, the husband thinks it's going to be a cabin. It's not a cabin. Anyways, they take a trip together. They get stuck there because of a snowstorm and weird things start happening. There are a lot of sort of flashbacks in the form of like letters that were written in the past. It's a little bit creepy. The creepy parts aren't that amazing, but it's definitely super mysterious the whole time. I don't love reading books about bad marriages. Like, it just puts me in a funk. Like, I just don't like hearing about it. Still, I managed to like this book, so that's gotta be saying something. I gave this 3.5 stars. You know, like, it was a good thriller. It was enjoyable, but I'm not gonna remember it. So the next one is the other book that I kind of started last month and finished this month, and that's Where the Heart Should Be by Sarah Crossan. I feel bad that I forgot that I read this book because it's good. I'm not quite sure why I can't really latch onto it. It was really easy to listen to. The narration was very good. It was a beautiful and sad story, and I think it was done well. It's just sometimes those books are just lacking a layer that makes things stick with you. And that's what's happening here, I guess. But it's got really good reviews. It is a really good book. There's just something that was missing for me, and I can't even tell you what. It's a short one. Like, the audiobook is 4 hours. And basically, we are following a family through the beginning of the potato famine in Ireland and just kind of how they navigate that. It's looking at tension between English and Irish people at the time. Our main character is a girl who is kind of the only one who's able to bring any income during all of this to her family, and she works as a servant at a rich British person's estate, and the man who owns the estate is complete trash. His son doesn't want any part of things, and he is trying to do the right thing, but he's so oblivious that he kind of keeps messing everything up anyways. He ends up having feelings for the girl, and of course that's a really complicated potential relationship because her friends are literally dying, her family is literally dying, and he's just in his mansion not really helping, but saying that he feels bad. And it's just a lot of examining how to navigate those times. There's tensions between neighbors and friends because they have different ideas on how to handle the situation, and just all of the intense, life-changing drama that comes with a situation like that. And yeah, it's definitely a sad book. It's beautifully written, though. Again, I can't say like what didn't make it stick with me, but I did enjoy it when I was reading it. Okay, The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper is a book that I've had my eye on for a while. The cover really caught my eye, and then the synopsis really caught my eye. We are following Amara, who is a girl who was sold by her family into slavery, and then she was taken as a prostitute. So she is living at a brothel right now, and we're just following her as she adjusts to that and learns how to pick her battles and comes up with a strategy on how she wants to try to get her freedom, all the things that her and her friends go through in trying to keep their master happy and deal with personal relationships when you are not even a free woman. and this was good. This was really good. There is humor in this. There are many different types of characters. It's a really good balance of plot and character study, and it's a kind of historical fiction that I really enjoyed. We are in Pompeii, and what I did not realize is this is a series. At the end, I was confused for a second, and then I did some Googling, and yeah, that was a cliffhanger that they left us with. So I'm actually very excited to read the second book in this, and I can't really go into why without spoiling it, but this is very, very good. The settings also, God, the settings are so beautiful. You're in like ancient bathhouses, and there are festivals that she's walking you through. So yeah, I gave this one 4 stars, and I think you should read it. Then I listened to my second Blake Crouch book, Recursion. This one was also really good. It didn't get me quite as much as Dark Matter. Both books I've read of his just keep making me curious to see what else he's written, because there is such a strong theme between these 2 books, and I'm just curious if that is followed that closely through all of his works, or if I just happen to pick 2 that are very similar. This is another like very introspective, speculative fiction book. Oh God, how do I even summarize this? Basically, someone accidentally built a chair that lets you travel to alternate timelines, but time's not linear. All the timelines are happening at the same time. So you can be like in a different year at the same time as the present year. It's like very confusing. But of course, there's power hungry people that are misusing it, and it is causing like catastrophic world events, and foreign countries are like trying to attack us. It's wild. It's all over the place. It's very easy to follow when you read it, but it's hard to talk about without completely spoiling everything. I really enjoyed this. I think it's going to be hard to find a Blake Crouch book that I straight up don't like. It didn't tug at my heartstrings the same way that Dark Matter did, but I was curious from the beginning, and I stayed curious throughout the whole thing, and I had feelings about what was going on, and I am definitely going to keep reading Blake Crouch. The next one is another one where I feel like I'm underappreciating it, and I probably need to find some videos on it, because I had a good time listening to it, and I can tell there's a lot that went into it, and I liked it, but I already have kind of forgotten about it. And that is A Short Walk Through a Wide World by Douglas Westerbeke. And I did this one on audiobook. It was one where I was constantly trying to figure out the exact meaning behind everything, and I think there are like a few main phases and focuses of the book, but basically we're following a girl who suddenly gets this crazy mysterious illness where she will die if she stays in the same place for too long. She starts like bleeding out her nose and mouth, and like getting weaker and weaker, and she has to flee the area as soon as that happens, or she will just die. And she can't go back to places that she's already been either. So she is constantly going from place to place. She can typically only stay somewhere for a few days at a time, if that. Obviously, it's very lonely, and whenever she finds people that she wants to stay with, it's a huge problem. And she is kind of trying to figure out how she will ever stay in one place. This goes through her whole life. And yeah, I don't know. It was really, really interesting. It was really thought-provoking. I still haven't fully figured it out, and I told myself in the middle of this that I was going to go research a lot afterwards, and life just happened, and I haven't done that yet. So I do kind of want to come back to it after I've watched interviews with the author and sussed it out a little bit more, because I do think it might be a good one to reread after getting the author's thoughts. It's a really good book. I just haven't wrapped my head around it fully yet. But the writing is beautiful. It's really cool hearing about the different places she goes to and the different people she meets, and seeing what type of people she is drawn to the point of wanting to stay with them. It's really beautiful, but it's definitely one that you want to fully pay attention to, in my opinion. Okay. I was so excited for this book, and I had a blast. The Tudor Secret by Christopher Gortner. This is also the first book of a series, and I do want to finish the series. It's not like technically this is the most mind-blowing book ever, but if you want a Tudor era court intrigue suspenseful book that's just fun. This is so it. This is so it. This was a blast. It has all of the real people from that time, like Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mary, King Henry, but it's not historically accurate. It's sort of a, like, what if you had thrown this into the mix situation thing. It is so cool. I feel like such a nerd for saying that, but it was. Like, this was so much fun. Pure, no pressure, fun. You don't have to think while you're reading this book. You already know the names of most of the characters because they're historical figures, except for our protagonist, who is the what if that got inserted into the situation. I didn't see it going the direction that it did, which I probably should have. I just wasn't thinking about it. We're following a foolish boy who gets thrown into the world of court intrigue and is really stumbling to find his footing, and he is directly in contact with both Mary, Queen of Scots, who's not Mary, Queen of Scots yet, and Elizabeth, who also is not queen yet. Everybody's just trying to figure out who's going to be next in line for the throne, where everybody's loyalties lie. There's spying happening. There are mysterious birthmarks. It is a no pressure, good time if you like the Tudor era at all. It's just fun. It's a book that you just fly through. Okay, so I also listened to The Radium Girls by Kate Moore, which is a very popular nonfiction book. It's so hard to talk about this book because I feel like if you don't love it, you sound like a jerk, because it is about the women that were painting clock and watch faces with radium and how that completely devastated their lives. Of course, most of them who worked at these plants working with radium, basically they had to put the paintbrushes in their mouths to create a tip small enough to paint the numbers, and so they were ingesting radium all day every day. A lot of them died from this, terrible, slow, painful deaths, and doctors couldn't figure anything out because this was a new thing. Nobody knew enough about radium for people to be working with it the way they were. And it follows also the legal battles and just the absolute trash humans that were running these plants and were straight up lying to these women's faces, telling them that radium was completely safe when they 100% factually knew that it was killing these girls. They were still lying. They literally looked at a girl with an amputated arm and said, radium poisoning does not exist. It is really infuriating at times. It's a wild ride. It is really hard to listen to sometimes because they do describe how these girls passed away and the things that their families went through. The reason that I had to push myself through this book, I understand why it was written the way it was, but that formatting made it hard for me to focus until the end, even with how intense the subject matter was. Obviously, this has not been spoken about enough, and the times that it has been spoken about, according to the author, it was not focusing on the women's lives and how they were affected as human beings, and she wanted to put their name out there in writing with their life and their personality attached to it, which I think is absolutely amazing. So I'm happy she wrote the book the way she did. It just was kind of a struggle for me. Basically, you hear about a lot of different women and you hear their story from beginning to end, but it's kind of like, here are 5 people who we're going to focus on. Here's everything from start to finish. And then we're going to go over here and tell these 5 entire stories from start to finish. It's just very repetitive in the exact same way, which it sounds so awful for me to say that because I'm not bored with what these women are going through. It's just when you write things a certain way, it's either going to work for people's brains or not, no matter the subject matter. So second half just felt really drawn out for me, but only because it felt like deja vu from all the cases we had already followed. And that is part of the point, is that this went on for way too long. So it's not a problem I actually have with the book. It's just a reality that it was difficult for my brain sometimes. You definitely get a look at these women as people, and you feel frustration and anger reading this book, and just embarrassment at how things go in our country. So, I mean, honestly, Kate Moore did a great job. This book definitely deserves all the hype that it's gotten. Don't read this unless you are okay hearing details about physical things that these women went through. The next one is a nonfiction, but hold on. I have 2 nonfiction books. They were both absolutely amazing and are super highlighted and are sticking with me forever. Yeah, this is how much I highlighted this one. It's Scattered Minds by Gabor Maté, and I am so grateful for this book as somebody who got her ADD diagnosis late in life and has been affected by it forever and can't afford medication because insurance doesn't cover it. This made me feel so seen, like in truly the most healing way. And I think I cried in the second chapter because he said something, and when you feel dumb for so long because you don't understand why your brain is the way it is, and then you get the diagnosis, and then you start hearing about other people who go through the exact same thing as you every single day, like it's gonna make you emotional. And it did. This is kind of him presenting how he got really introduced to ADD. He didn't know much about it until I think somebody like recommended a book or something to him. He figured out he has it, his kids have it. Part of this is an argument for what he believes the environmental causes could be for ADD. He doesn't think it is purely genetic or even genetic as often as people like to think it is. And he does say, like, yes, sometimes it is, and there is that argument, but I'm going to focus on the cases where I think it's more environmental because that hasn't been written about enough, and I appreciate that because we just need more information. It affects so many people. He also does address the people that like to say they're ADD just because they can't, like, get it together and focus and be disciplined, but they don't actually have ADD, and I appreciate that because I feel like it's an eye roll every time I mention mine because we're in this phase where everybody wants to claim a title for themselves. It's trendy to have like mental health issues or some sort of neurodivergence, and people just want to slap a label on everything because it gives them an excuse to not be accountable. And that's really frustrating when you actually have the thing that people are trying to just make, I don't know, trendy. So I love that he addressed that in here. There's so much that I'm going to refer back to. This book is everything to me. It is now kind of a personal Bible, and I will keep it forever. My mom is currently reading this so that she can better understand why we clash sometimes. She is very opposite of ADD. She's like laser focused and doesn't like putting things off at all. It's been really cool. We haven't talked in detail about it yet, but she's blowing through it and reading it. She's like, that's really overwhelming and scary, like the way your brain is every day. And I appreciate hearing that because it is exhausting. It seriously is. And it's really cool to have this to be able to give to people when I don't necessarily know how to put how my brain functions into words in a way that they will understand. This is so helpful for so many reasons, and I just appreciate it so much. Cannot say how grateful I am for this book. If you think you have ADD, if somebody close to you has it and you feel like you could better understand how they work to help them and help yourselves and help your relationship, like, this is where it's at. This is amazing. There's also some sections that I skipped because it was more about like kids in school with ADD. I read parts of the focus on kids, but there's like kids with ADD and adults with ADD sections, and it's divided in a way that just makes a lot of sense to me. It's amazing. 5 stars. And then I have a new favorite book. Like, it didn't pass my favorite books, but like it's in the top 3. There's a top 3. And that is The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. I could have sworn I heard people saying that this one was a lot slower and more boring than the first one. And that is a bold-faced lie. I'm sorry. Straight up lie. This is 800 pages. And I was never bored once. I was angry. I was sad. I was frustrated. I was nervous. I was on the edge of my seat. I was falling in love with the new characters and renewing my love for the characters that I already loved from the first book. It is just amazing how perfect the writing is in this book, in my opinion. Like, I can't find an area of weakness. There's one problem, actually. There's one problem. Brandon Sanderson, you do not need to use the R word, the R word that refers to sexual assault. You don't need to say that because it's not even, he's talking about like something that happened to a society and how it like robbed them of something. But he used the other word and it was towards the end of the book and I was immediately pulled out of the story and I was instantly really frustrated with him because he's actually very good at writing women and writing strong, smart, complex women. And then he made such a stupid decision to use that word. Listen, I am not a person who completely avoids anything that could possibly be stressful, but I know what reading that word, especially out of nowhere, can do to somebody with trauma. And it's just unnecessary. There are so many words. Like, there are so many other words. There are so many better words. Let's not use that word. That's straight up stupid. So that was like a big thumbs down. But aside from that huge lapse in judgment, the book was perfect. Which is such a bummer. It was almost a perfect book, except for one word that was just chosen so poorly. But the characters in the story are absolutely amazing. There are more layers being added into this. I sobbed at the end. The action scenes are still just spot on. The politics, amazing. The mystery, the relationships, it's funny, it's sad, it's everything. I'm so mad that he did that one thing because, yeah, I truly love this book. And I'm gonna just Sharpie out that word. It's so dumb. Why do people do these things? But aside from that, the way he set up the third book, it is going to be dramatic. The last book that I read and finished is Unwell Women by Elinor Cleghorn. Actually, I have one chapter left that I'm finishing today. Close enough. This book is absolutely amazing. It's not perfect, but it is so needed. As soon as I saw the title of this book, I knew I had to have it because personally, I can't stand 99% of doctors. Like, I have just not had many good doctors, and between me and my family members, like, we've seen a lot of doctors in a lot of different areas, and so many of them are just completely ignorant and don't care to further their education, or they are condescending and don't believe you and don't actually help you, which is sad. Like, it's a really honorable profession when people actually care and put in effort, but it's just not like that a lot of the time. And this is filled with facts that can back up any argument for anybody who thinks that that is not a fair assessment of the medical industry. But this is focusing specifically on how women are not believed, are not listened to, are not included in studies, just dismissed as being crazy, are set up for failure because men want to keep us in our place and keep us in this pretty little box that fits their wants and needs. And it covers a lot of time. We start back like in the day of Aristotle and we end now. It is really, really appalling to read. It's like I flew through it as much as I could. It went really slow because I was highlighting so much. Like, most pages look like this. So it took me a long time because also sometimes I just had to sit with stuff and be mad for a second before I could continue. But I feel so much better informed, and like opinions that I have formed on my own about medical professionals today, especially male ones, were so backed up by this, and that felt really validating. It just felt really good to have somebody research and speak about things that factually happened. And like, there are quotes from male doctors in here that are just disgusting, but they are direct quotes. Like, nobody can argue with these. So it just makes you feel more armed going forward in a day and age where you really have to advocate for yourself. As far as being intersectional, I felt a little bit teased. I feel like maybe I'm being nitpicky, but I'm not sure. I want somebody else to tell me their thoughts on this. She does talk about how Black women are so much more discriminated against and how they are treated so much worse. And well, not even just Black women, just women of color. It felt like sometimes she was really focusing on it and then she just wouldn't talk about it for many, many chapters. And then she would kind of like address that was a thing that was happening, but wouldn't go into a lot of detail. But then sometimes she did go into detail. I just thought it was going to be a more consistent and strong theme throughout the whole entire book, I guess is where I was a little disappointed. Like, I'm glad that she addresses it. I think she should have addressed it more and more consistently, but I also don't know if that's affected by being able to find concrete sources to cite. I have a lot of friends that I've told about this book and they're like, I could never read that. That would make me too mad. And I'm kind of like, I get it, but like, don't you want to be armed with the knowledge that you need? I understand, but I do think women should 100% read this. I think everybody should read it. I think men should definitely read it. But if you are a woman and you want to be able to look out for yourself, this is another personal Bible of mine now. Okay, so for the books that I did not finish this month, okay, Babel. I just decided this morning that I don't think I'm going to finish it. And I literally was listening to it last night when I couldn't sleep. It's just like, I don't get where it's going. I'm a quarter of the way in. Like, it's kind of a little bit magical, but nothing's really happened with that yet. And I like the idea of where it's going, because it is talking about how white people are the worst and how we want to claim everything as our own and use other countries, other cultures for our benefit, take what we want, leave the rest. That obviously is great to talk about and to address. It's interesting because it's in such a snobby setting, which is necessary, but like, snobby settings are hard for me to follow for a long time. That's why I was so shocked that I actually liked The Secret History as much as I did, because she just found a way to make it like worth it and to use it to her advantage. I might go back to it someday. Maybe I will listen to it over time, but I think it's just too long. I think it's just too unnecessarily long. And, you know, R.F. Kuang, I think she is good at writing books for people who like books. You know, like, we're talking about language, we're talking about the details of translation, we're talking about like dark academia libraries. So it's really good for people who would love to geek out in those areas in a very detailed way. And I think it's done well. It's just too spaced out for me to personally want to spend another 16 hours listening to it, because not enough has happened plot-wise. I don't dislike it. I enjoy listening to it when I'm listening to it, just not enough to listen for as long as I would need to. Entangled Life by Merlin Sheldrake. People really like this book. It's about mushrooms and all of their superpowers. I'm obsessed with mushrooms. I think they can change a lot of things for us. I think it's pretty mind-blowing, the things that they can do, and I'm excited that there's been such a heavy focus on learning about them in greater detail recently. I think this is a case of the author should not have narrated, maybe, because I tried listening to this. It was just dry for me. I didn't get that far because it was just dry and it wasn't jumping into anything that I didn't already know fast enough. So I might look for a different book on mushrooms, or maybe I'll get the physical copy and just like kind of pick parts that I want to read. Maybe. I hate doing that with books. There's something about it that just like bothers my brain, but I want to know what he's found out in his time researching them, but he's just not making it, like, the presentation is not great for me. So I didn't get far with this one. Okay, I tried listening to The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, which was way out of my wheelhouse for what I listened to, but I've always really liked the covers, and I was fascinated by the fact that supposedly, from my understanding, each book in the series is focusing on a different family member as the main character. And I love that idea so much. But yeah, it was just too much like rich people having rich people problems that I couldn't. Like, I started listening to it and it was like, okay, your dad died and he owned this crazy amusement park, and all of you have to actually do something before you just get handed this company and inheritance. And they're like, we have to like do something? That sucks. Like, this is not going to be fun. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm over it. So didn't get very far. If you don't mind reading books about that type of thing, it does have pretty decent reviews, but yeah, it just wasn't for me. So yeah, 3 very, very great books that I will be keeping forever. I can't believe how well my physical books went this month. Like, not a bad win in the batch at all. So that was great. Audiobooks, yeah, they were kind of like, I didn't mind them at the time, but I just forgot about them completely, which is always super sad. But pretty happy. Pretty happy with that reading month, not gonna lie. And I have a good feeling about the next one too. But that's all I've got for this week. I will see you guys in the next video.